long-term growth to investors, who are looking to get into that real estate game, huh?
That's right.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about Lakeshore Corporation and what you guys do.
Well, we started off as a real estate investment company, and we started managing more and more properties, and we had investors that we worked with, and the investors approached us about properties, and so we'd acquire properties for those investors and form small companies and LLCs to hold the properties, and then we would manage the properties once those were acquired.
How big are these properties?
They can range the properties that we buy are typically anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 square feet. So they range.
So multifamily or commercial or
commercial, mixed use, where you have multifamily and then retail on the bottom floor. We have industrial property that we own and vacant warehouse space. So
hopefully it's not vacant too long.
Well, the one is.
So Geoff, when you get into the investment side of real estate right now, it sounds like you're doing a lot of property management. Where do you see some of the property management mistakes that are being made when people try to do it themselves?
I think it's just like any industry, not knowing the laws, not knowing the rules. That's typically the main thing. You can go online and there's lots of information, but knowing how to compile the information in a way that actually makes sense.
Into a legal document?
Yeah, right. And that's accurate and relevant, because the laws change all the time. And commercial is much different than residential. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just kind of like maybe doing your taxes on TurboTax versus having a CPA.
And so do you see more people? I mean, people are starting to get back into real estate investing. Do you see people going back at it on their own to manage their own properties, or do you see more people going and looking for a property manager like yourself?
I think it's both. I mean, it depends on the person. They want the best net profit at the end of the day. So some people value their time more than others, and they feel like the cost to hire a property manager is going to be worth it for them. Whereas others, maybe they're retired, maybe they have time on their hands, and they don't really care. It's fun. It's a hobby for them. So
till the toilet leaks at 3:00 in the morning, right?
That's right.
So that's always a toilet. I don't know why. Geoff, so what other services? So you have, owners of buildings, owners of properties, property management's a big piece of that. What does that all entail? Because it's not just finding renters, is it?
No, it's not. It's finding contractors like Scott and Jason and Walter, and dealing with the right vendors to take care of your property. You can go through a list of bad vendors that are going to cost you more in the long run. So our work experience with those contractors is hopefully going to add some value to the property owner at the end of the day. And then from a just overall industry perspective, we watch trends in the industry. When's a good time to buy? When's a good time to sell? Where are rents at, both on the residential and commercial side. So that, I think, is a service that a property manager should provide and hopefully will provide.
So we actually ended last hour about customer service. It sounds like you guys have a little bit further reaching, goal or service space than maybe what people think of about a property manager, where it's get the property rented and then, kind of go dormant until something comes up.
Yeah, our goal is client relationships, because a lot of the clients that we work with, they own multiple properties. And so we want a long-term relationship with those clients. If they go and buy a property, we want to be there to represent them. If their friends or family want to buy a property, we want to be there to represent them and help guide them through that process, and then manage it after that process is complete. What's
the difference in responsibility between residential and industrial or office space? I mean, because people, I guess, these friends or whoever they may be, that your clients, people are referring, they all have these different properties. There's got to be a pretty big difference between each one.
Yeah, the overall responsibility is the same. You're collecting rents and you're paying the bills and you're making sure that things are running right. But inside of that, the responsibilities vary wildly. I mean, for a commercial property, you're going to have different systems in the building than you would for residential. So you're going to need to know what those entail. And on the residential side, for Washington, there's a Landlord-Tenant Act. So you really need to be aware of the Landlord-Tenant Act on the residential side of things, whereas in commercial, they don't have one. And so you're really just looking at the lease to find out what governs what covenant of that lease and who's breaking the rules and who's not.
Okay. So you get to play a little police officer too, huh?
That's right. That's right. You'd be surprised how many people don't actually read their leases and don't even understand what they're getting into, not just on the residential side, but also on the commercial side. A lot of the businesses that we work with are small businesses, and they're people. They're with a company name behind them, but at the end of the day,
And it can go pretty bad for not only their business,
right,
but them personally.
Personally, and it just costs us as the
Do it right the first time. And that goes for people who I guess are leasing a property as well as the people who are renting the property.
That's right.
Out, right? I mean, the owner and the lease,
right.
Right. And the lessee. Hey, there's my terminology.
That's right. You'll have owners of property that maybe they inherited the property, or maybe they're a first-time investor, and so they don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of how to deal with the tenant, and they may not know the ins and outs of leasing themselves, or they may have had an attorney that he doesn't necessarily know the commercial real estate market. They know the legal part of things, but they don't know really what's practical and what's not.
Well, Geoff, it sounds like that it can be a pretty big difference. I mean, the practical use of what's going on in the market and the legalities of a contract. Stick around for a few minutes. So,
okay.
And Heather Moore is actually going to join us. Everybody's coming back on the air. We'll be right back after this break. You're listening to Brashenomics.